Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here. We are, of course, playing Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.6, playing as Germany. Okay, now, as you know, normally I do play a few episodes ahead just to give myself a cushion for whatever it might be. Uploading and releasing stuff. So just if something goes on and I don't get it done. Played a few more than my normal 2 or 3 ahead. Not a whole lot more than that, but from what I've released now. But I did get reminded. So somebody may have reminded me below the previous episode. But I did get reminded also about these and that we can build these. It's partially just because it's been a long time since I've, 147 episodes I think is what the British series was. And that's intermixed in with a bunch of Hearts of Iron 4. So a long time since I've needed to expand my rare material or my any materials buildings. And I'll also plead jumping back and forth between Hearts of Iron 3 and 4 and things doing different in the different games, and even within Hearts of Iron 4 jumping around, because with 3 virtually I only play Black Ice. There's other really good mods out there. I know a few of you play some of those a bit more often. The Deutsches Wehrmacht immersion mod and other things like that. They're really good. I'm not knocking them, but I just really virtually only actually play. And RPM's good, I know. Hey, I worked on Bullwitz Panzers for it as a modder. But it's virtually just Black Ice for 3. With 4, I'm all kinds of versions I'm playing at. So that's sort of part of my pleading excuse, is that I just forgot because I was jumping around. So, and of course you plant these in provinces with the resource already there, and it magnifies the output for that province. And it's better to go to place them in a province with a lot of resources there already, naturally. So for the steel refineries and coal mines. So we've done that. I've expanded that now. Obviously it's going to take a while, and not too long ago. This is going to be into February 7, so yeah, steel plants are pretty big and take a lot. So that will help out. I mean, obviously, there's 2 ways to handle this that are relatively good. And I haven't done the math. Again, I'll say up front, I don't neither do the math quickly in my head like this, or do the math, or want to sit down and figure it out on paper. With whether it's better to produce a few extra supplies, and because steel and coal is cheap, get people different rare materials, or oil is different, but steel and coal are cheap. I can cheaply afford to import it, okay, and I can keep doing that. I don't know whether like I was saying, whether it's better to do the mines. Now when you do the mines, though, it's once you produce them, you don't need to, continue the costs for them, because here I'm importing 50 energy for what's a little over 2.5, where it's 4, so it's probably cheap. Yeah, it's cheaper because it's only in December. It's actually much cheaper to do the coal, but the steel with the 7 all the way till there. So eventually, over time, I'm sure it is cheaper to produce the mines. But short term, and again, I don't know, because I do know that there will be, I believe there will be at least one more event in 39 coming up, expanding our, so if I remember, because I made it, but it should work. Expanding our coal and steel resources some more. So I know that's sort of coming. I've sort of been waiting for that to come, and I don't know if it's probably not big enough to relieve all of our needs. But so that's still coming. So that's sort of what I've been waiting for, and I thought it would have maybe been here by now. I thought it was maybe 38, but I don't remember. Sorry, I don't remember all these details. So we're producing some more of that now, because like I say, in the long run it will be cheaper. Now obviously we still haven't even expanded out all of our coal resources here. So we're getting more and more coal as it is right now. This has a base of 39 coal, plus all of the I don't believe that's just the base, it plus all of these the mining and strategic effect, but plus this is energy production. So so it's gonna increase up even out of that. So, and I knew these as well were coming. Again, I don't do the math to know just how much is coming out of Czechoslovakia versus how many new ICs in Czechoslovakia that need to use coal themselves. So it's all a balance thing. So that's sort of why I hadn't been building, and why I don't think I'm going overboard with just 3 of each. We'll see how that goes and our needs. But I am sort of, in the long term, like I say, it's cheaper, but also in the long term, even if it wasn't cheaper, we still have eventual cutting off, just because the U.S. will cut us off from trading with it. But there are other options, but can be interdicted at sea, and if it's with the Soviet Union, eventually we're going to go to war with the Soviet Union. And we don't want to have shortfalls in the meantime. So I don't know about that. So that's just sort of talking, a little embarrassed by that, but not big, because what I was doing wasn't wrong, it was just different. Now, also, because you don't need to watch all this, a few of you over the different times have wanted to see how I reorganize things, but I went through and I grabbed, I think, all of the fighter units and put it under Flieger Corps F, put all of the bombers, or all the medium and light bombers, under Flieger Corps B, that I renamed it. If they come up with a better, more historical named Flieger Corps that's that, I may shift them over. And then CAS, I don't know what the German, because but the sort of, that has the both fighter and the Stukas, and these other sort of close air support type stuff to just better organize things. They're all spread around different air bases right now, but just to help me organize. I'll eventually create a Flieger Corps T to put the transports under, and Flieger Corps Z to put the nav bombers under. So we'll be getting that better organized up. I think is good to help me keep from losing units. I'm going to try to use air power better, but I'm going to try to assign missions, at least offensive ground type missions, on a less aggressive basis, so that I don't have to micromanage stopping them to get repairs, because I don't want them to burn up. I want them to, operate while they're in good condition, and then pause to get reorganized and repaired, and then go back at it. So I like some of the aspects for Hearts of Iron 4's air. Not that they themselves don't need a bit of work. They do. But, okay. So I wanted to send over this, to send one destroyer to have, or flotilla. One destroyer flotilla. Come on, get over there. Yeah. Over to the Baltic Fleet to back up the torpedo boats in anti-submarine warfare, because these guys are, they're old coastal battleships, so they're not that good, but they are very vulnerable to give them money for rare materials. Okay, we've got lots and lots of money now, partially because, or I think mainly because we inherited Czechoslovakia, and we are running a big deficit in rare materials. So we're going to decline your offer, Britain. Let's see who we might. Oh no, I'm looking at France. France, okay. Well, no, France is pissed at me right now. I know of you have worried that I may be draining my allies of things like rare materials. And I could be, and I guess theoretically I am instead of their stockpiling it. Yeah, other ones. Part of it, of course, is wanting to let's go for 20. Is wanting to improve relations with my future allies quickly and get them in good. Get them into alliance with me. That's part of the reason I'm wanting to do trade with them. But part of the reason is also just my new habits of Hearts of Iron 4, in that even more directly, because nations will stockpile money, and yes, they may then use that money to buy things that are useful to it to fight the war, but they may not. Now, the reason I didn't go with Britain is because I don't know how quick I'm going to invade, and I think the money will make them stronger. Django asked if maybe I would think about doing a this was sometime a week ago or so, a early blitz into the Soviet Union in 1940, and I'm vaguely considering it. I'm also sort of vaguely considering it, just trying it for the hell of it, but obviously being very prepared to go back to the save prior to it. And sort of the thing is with that would be, though, because I'm planning on starting the war in 40, is not to do the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact. And so you're starting from here and then driving towards Moscow, but I don't know how weak or strong the Soviet Union is going to be in 1940. And we are playing on hard, so they should be a bit stronger, a bit more, so I don't know that they'd be that much weaker to do that. Instead of, and what I'm thinking, I don't know what he was thinking for sure, do it after, he said late 40, and one of my responses to him was, you mean in the winter time? Starting a invasion of the Soviet Union in the winter is not what I think of as a fun exercise. But I did sort of have the thought of, well, what if we just leave these guys at peace? And obviously we'll be at war with France, but I think we can hold the Maginot, or the, west wall there, and then just defeat Poland, and then come up here and then just drive into the Soviet Union as deep and back as that. I will save I will make a save before I accept or sort of go down the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact, to consider that, because I don't want to do, because the pact does have, I think it's a year that it has to, or 6 months or something, that you can't break it. Eventually you can, obviously, but it's not right away. So I don't know exactly how it's working right now, but I would much rather, if I'm trying to blitz in speedily, would do it with the Baltic states maybe still in existence, but definitely with me fully, because I don't think the Soviets get the Baltic states without the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact. So but the starting gate up here would be a lot closer to Moscow. And of course, coming up to Leningrad. That would be an interesting march up that way quickly. And then, of course, if you can, blitz down into here. So that's an interesting idea. It's something I hadn't thought of, and I'm seriously considering doing that, whether that is an alternate route or if it works out well, maybe the main route. I don't know. Because normally I want to secure the Mediterranean first, and now I would hopefully try to keep, while doing all this, Italy out of the war and any of the other, well, I'd probably want Hungary and Romania if they're in the Axis, helping me out on Soviet attack, but keep the Mediterranean relatively at peace while doing that, because I think I can keep Britain from invading successfully and whatnot. Now, of course, get the Soviet Union or enough of the Soviet Union, you've got a lot of resources and you don't have to worry about that. And I know that's sort of where we started with getting the resources, but so I'm considering that, as you can tell. But especially if I'm doing that, I'm not going after Britain early. Now, I am at some point going to go after the Netherlands, and the Netherlands built up another 10 or 20% stronger. I still think they're going to go down fast, and I will get to capture their stockpiles here fairly early. So if they end up having a lot of extra money or something that I paid them, I'll get it back if they use that to expand stuff. One of the reasons I'm thinking of not this is the strongest reason I'm sort of thinking of not going early. It's not a not ever, but not going early for invading Britain is because of that. And if you notice, the Boulogne has a different image there, the provincial image. So, and it's not, that is not Boulogne city. So that's another thing with another mod that works out best if Britain is still still an allied thing. And I sort of want to play it through and just see how it works with everything going on. It's been a long time since I played it, so I don't want to spoil too much of that. And that only really kicks off once Germany occupies here and defeats France. So, yeah. Okay. Now, what I sort of waited to do, because it's easier to find them, I wanted to create a motorized core here. As you can see, I basically virtually all, we just got the subs. The aircraft up there, additional one. So we're creating a motorized infantry corps. Might attach these guys, one of these guys to it too, but under Hoppner, who is a panzer commander, but that's a decent headquarters for him, for some motorized stuff that are still sort of reinforcing, and we are readjust that. And I want to deploy, and we'll deploy these guys here. And to the U-boat headquarters. And no, not you. These Wolfpack guys, some of them, like Gunther Prin, who he's the one that snuck into Scapa Flow and sunk the battleship, are very good U-boat commanders, but they're just starting out as sort of, they didn't want to overput the skills because they'll earn a lot of skills points is if they don't sink or if they're not get killed pretty quickly. So they're sort of early before they've got, so they're not really meant to be bad. It's just spamming a bunch early there. So we have our U-boat commands and they'll get upgraded as well. They're donuts. Okay, and let's see, we had a tech show up. Recon unit coordination increased to 3. That is very useful, and we will leave it to go. And what is our... okay. Create the 4th Panzer Division. Yes, we want to do that. Okay. Forming a new unit. Create the 3rd Lick Division. Okay. Yes, we want to do that. Create the 2nd Lick Division. Yes, we want to do that. And upgrade the 1st Lick Brigade to the 1st Lick Division, which we just put on the manual very recently. Kill all these. That's a nice period picture for them. Because it's this guy here we just got out. Brigade, but yeah, division would be better, so we will lose that. I think that will disappear in a second too. Now did all of those units get... yeah. Okay, well, nice and expensive. They're more important than these big heavy ships right now. I'm upgrading the cavalry regiment in the Austrian thing to a tank battalion, so that'll be much more useful long term. Medium tank battalion. Yep, that went bye-bye. Good, we wanted those panzer divisions, most assuredly. Yeah, so we're doing a lot of that. Reinforcing, okay, we need to reinforce. We're trying to pump this down. So we have 95 instead of 75. That's jumped up a lot because we have a larger army now. But they'll work their way down. And we're still in November of 38. And we're not planning on until spring 40 to start the war. I don't see people aren't getting that much stronger by starting in 39 and then trying to rush either a winter offensive here or waiting until the spring to get these, you know, around the Maginot Line events. Okay, well, we're going to stop that now for the moment. And we'll be back to it. But we're going to come over here and we're going to do SSHQs. Because if I'm not mistaken, some of them here. Part of the right share defense. Well, it's not here as a potential yet, but the triggering decisions to get the declarations of war and some of the benefits here. Gotta wait, I think, until sometime in 40 anyway, so might as well be at peace, trading, building panzer divisions and other things up more and more while that goes on. Because you can take down Poland fast, and as you've seen me do it before, in 1940 I've been able to take down Poland, Norway, Denmark, Benelux, France, and Yugoslavia and Greece, basically, all in 1940. So you can do that all in the campaign season, so there's no point in doing it early. That doesn't really help anything. Okay, cruiser training is advanced. Okay, good. That's basically up to where it goes. Here's your damage control system. So that would be up here. Come on. Yeah, but that's already anyways in 1940, so we're not going to research that just yet. I'm just being thorough and going through things, making sure there isn't something particularly useful. We may get to those someday. We'll get to that soon. That's a close one to do, but let's see. I want to get all these up to 39. Well, this is just, well, these at 38, so let's do that. Poland is mobilizing, okay. Oh, I forgot to move these. Okay. Okay, R. And I want to move that in just to beef up the headquarters a little bit more. Send them over here. And I thought of using these I'll send you down there. These Czech equipped units for, you know, west wall defense. I placed the big railway guns there along here already to help with that. Give them money for rare materials. We've got plenty of money coming in to cover that. Yes, and yes, we need a bunch more rare materials. And we need more steel. Now, of course, we haven't gotten anywhere near getting there. New steel, the coal's going to happen a lot faster. But so let's also bring in some U.S. steel. Part of my reasoning for doing U.S. steel, and one, I just know they have it. Okay, just a little bit, but still want to build up more, so let's go for 30 steel. As we're playing with the same AI as we played in the British series, and if you remember the British series, if you watched it, if you haven't, I'm sure some of you haven't, but if you haven't, you can go back and watch it. It's interesting. It isn't Germany. I know many of you like just watching play Germany, but it's a good series. All of the units that are stuck in America that were there that could have easily, and any human player, and these aren't just various garrison or National Guard or whatever type units around, or just, hey, we're being safe and guarding some ports. There was a bunch of good units, good divisions that the AI never got out of America. So I'm presuming it's going to do that again, where if they use the money to, or whatever, to improve the Soviet army, well, I'm going to be facing that army, and it's going to, one way or another, be the army in my face, you know, in front of me, and I'm going to have to fight it. So, and while I can, I'm much more willing to give excess money or resources, however you want to look at it, to the U.S. than Britain or Russia. France, I think it's going to be defeated anyway, so I don't have a big problem if they wanted to trade with me, trading with France again. Just give you my thoughts. They may not be the best reasons for doing things, but okay. Well, let's give it a real. No longer. Okay. Probably won't last, but okay. And another event. Another decision. Okay. Yes, please. And infantry division of the first umbrella. Now we're gonna go for the full division. We're just keeping with that. I can see a very good reason to, if you're doing your own sort of want to build the building program and just want the cool HQ unit symbol on the map and not worry about that. But actually I'm going to kick you up a couple, 3. We want to get the panzers going, but I also want to keep the practicals going on some of the infantry units. Obviously none of these are being built yet, but just give it time. Okay, we've just had a bunch of factories. I think it was 4 or something that came online, so that's well, they're about 4 ICs costing, so that's plus 4 more, so that's about 20 ICs that just freed up. Obviously some of them are not building there, but shift around. We'll get there. These things will be built, submarines and such, and yeah, let's move this down. It's 24. It's costing a bit too much, and it's September 39. But we'll kick that there. Number 1 of those ships. Okay, yes, we'll give you doing that mostly. I know we are good with the money now, but mostly just to improve relations with Saudi Arabia. I'm getting less and less worried about that, whatever weird effect that makes it go to 0. It's not happening too often. Not exactly sure what events and why it causes it, but it happens. I don't want to keep pausing this. Money for fuel? No. Okay. Okay, artillery unit training. Great. We're going to keep that going. We're, for right now, trying to get everything done through 38. And we have another decision to make. One more. Yes. We want the U-boats. Yes to the HQ. Okay. Now. Move all these down. Should we'll get some of those U-boats made. Built. Okay, these are going to hit pretty soon. And these. The biggest problem with these, well, there are that bonus of human production, so that's good. So let's just up that by 1 to keep that going. What did I set it all the way to the top? Yeah, let's send it back to the bottom, because if it's fluctuating, I don't want it to push up. But let's move all these down. Keep reducing that down as needed. Yeah, as I play this, because for testing purposes, well, we've lost our high popularity and got medium popularity. As I play this, and I also play, test Hearts of Iron 4, I just so wish, and I know many of you do too, that I could combine these two games. That would be ever so awesome. Okay, King Carol II of Romania. The Führer meets the Romanian King Carol II at Berchtesgaden. He has greatly insulted us by declaring that Romanian gazetteers that he came to the Reich only to visit his relatives. Furthermore, he wants to meet the Führer only because his tour of Great Britain and France failed, and his country is very in a very frail diplomatic situation. Our delegation made him a cold welcome. The Romanian king wants the building of a highway between the Reich and his country, and the assistance that we will not, or the assurance that we will not support a Hungarian revisionism. The Führer has expressed reservations in the matter of the highway and told the king that the conflict between Romania and Hungary represents no interest to the Reich. Okay. Part of the reason I read that is because that wasn't in the earlier versions of this playthrough. It's again Third Reich events, but so at this time, and if you've seen, they've made some well, hilarious, overdone, I would say. I don't know if hilarious, but funnily overdone events for King Carol in Romanian Hearts of Iron 4. But at this time he was running around, as it said, in Paris and London. You don't see the events because everything get reported, trying to get Britain and France, or both, one or both, to help, to give an alliance to give guarantees for protection of Romania. There had been the little entente here in that, Romania, what was it? Yugoslavia, Greece, and Turkey. I think that's what it was. Sort of protecting themselves against the former Axis nations of both, though Turkey, former Central Powers nations of World War I, although Turkey, of course, was a Central Power, but protecting them from Romania wanting to get territory back, Hungary wanting to get territory back, kinds of things. So, big Romania. And that's falling apart at this time. Obviously, you see Hungary. And there's some events that you don't see also going on that allow rearmament in some of these countries too. Hungary has gotten back this region here along Czechoslovakia and in the mountains, though that was actually at sort of two different stages, if I remember correctly and historically, and it's now pushing for more territory in Romania, and Poland is sort of going along with it because obviously it wanted this little bits and pieces. So, and although Mussolini is casting hungry eyes towards Yugoslavia, there are several government shifts, including basically a fascist government getting into power at times, wanting to join an alliance with Italy, which is obviously getting an alliance with Germany. So non-fascist Romania It was fascist, I think, like in what, 34, 35 or something like that, and then there's a coup against them, and then, you know, they're not. So they want an alliance with Germany. Germany is saying no. I don't allow players to do this, because for Hitler to say yes here, because throws too many things else out, and it's not what he wanted to do. Because Hitler, well, Romania is not at this point a reliable ally for Germany. It would probably have been a situation like Yugoslavia, in that it wants to be protected from Germany, but is going to be unwilling to go to war with anybody else. Yugoslavia wanted to be protected by Germany and didn't want to go to war, and it was only really trying to get it into the Axis, and likely getting it into the war was the revolt against the government, and the government collapsed and the Germans invaded when they reneged on things. Romania, because it's pro-alliance, pro-British, pro-French positions, probably would not have gone to war and supported Germany. So Hitler wasn't pleased by this. Now what changes is, well, some internal, significant internal dynamics change within Romania, but also one, Hungary takes a bunch of land. Even more so, the threat of the Soviet Union takes a bunch of land, and they might take all the rest of the country. So that Romania is now sort of between a rock and a hard place, and they got to choose, and so they choose, I don't know whether Germany's the rock or the hard place, but they choose to come on board at that time. So that time they're going to be a much more reliable ally, because knowing that at least if things go well, they're not going to get back the territory they lost to Hungary. They probably aren't getting back a little bit of territory they lost to Bulgaria. But if it goes well, they'll get back their territory they lost to the Soviet Union, plus more, because they at least hope to, it's the Ba here or something. Not that because Hitler wants the Ukraine, but obviously Ukraine is pretty big. Just where, could they get Odessa and a bit more land in here to give them some Lebensraum, as it were, where the great bulk of it and some of the, warm water ports would be German in the future. But Romania could grow a bit bigger and have a bit more of a country. So that's sort of what's going on. So we mess up relations get worse between us. Okay, while the SDP was going on, if you remember one of the events, we supported the KDP, the Carpathian or whatever, Deutsches Party, which now, just because it's in Slovakia, now just they dropped the Carpathian, just become the Deutsches Party. There's their little Führer. Notice he mimics Hitler with the mustache. There he is giving out medals. It's one of their badges, but it's also, you see it on an armband. So we're going to support them. A little bit of money, a little bit of supplies. Okay. The Luftverteidigungszone, sorry, west. This is part of the buildup of the West Wall. The air defense region in here put on. Wow, lots of energy. Oh boy, I gotta change that. I just, because every game I had been playing before some of these changes, I always had more literally more energy than I could possibly ever deal with, and I was trying to make it cost them. That's because I knew these were sort of coming, and I didn't remember the exact. The metal, 7,000, obviously is just going to put us in a big negative hole right now. There's a lot of anti-aircraft guns in there, so metal's appropriate, but not that much. Probably 3,000 max would be appropriate for the metal, and also a lot of the ammunition needs to be built. Energy, coal to build all the steel and all that stuff should probably be less than 3,000 as well, so that should be redone. I'm some part of trying to remember these things. Everything else with the costs I'm on. So now let's see, what you need to do is come down here, Move them to the top so they don't get readjusted down or anything. Get all these anti-aircraft done. See, that's a lot of anti-aircraft built. So you need to pay for it. It's not free. You need to pay for it. Things aren't necessarily a zero-sum game. And part of the reason I'm doing that is to build up practicals for you instead of just dropping them on the map. That's the other way to do it, of course. So the next day hits. Oh, we don't get to see a bunch of... Okay, artillery unit combined arms have advanced. How? Oh, we don't want to look over there right now. See, that's because of those... Maybe those units coming in. Okay. Well, we're safe here with this. Okay. Yeah. We're still just in 38. Good. Okay, German-U.S. rift widens. Knew this was coming up at some point here. After the World War I, Germany needed to pay indemnities, which I think are reasonable. I don't know that we can debate how big they should have been, but Germany caused a big war, cost lots and lots of money, and killed lots and lots of people. They lost. What happens when you lose wars like that? Well, you can lose a lot of territory, and obviously the German Empire did. It lost parts of Alsace and Lorraine here, so it lost some of that territory. It lost territory to Poland. No, well, I think it lost, no, yeah, maybe it lost a little bit up here, but that's about it. And obviously it cost, a lot, and I think the victors deserve repayment because they didn't start the war. France did not start a war with Germany. It was Austria going into Serbia they waited too long. They should have just moved right in, then no one would have cared after the killing of Archduke Ferdinand. But they waited too long, and Russia was giving guarantees, or looked like it was going to support Serbia. Germany honored its alliance to fight, to defend against Russia. Russia and France had alliance to defend against each other. But would France have gone to war with Germany if Germany was just helping to defend Austria and not trying to send armies deep into Russia or something? I don't know. We don't know. I think Britain would have stayed out of it. I'm not sure. It was really going through Belgium and being such a bully into going in through Belgium did really push Germany, or push Britain into a war with Germany. Belgium was more, no longer is, but was something of a client state of Britain for a long time. So ever since the end of the Napoleonic Wars. So there's all that going on. So so Germany has these heavy indemnities to pay off. Well, it just can't afford it. So what does the U.S. do? Very nicely, the U.S. offers Germany loans to pay off, because America has money. America at the end of World War I was being run sensibly. They never fully mobilized, you can say whether they did or didn't in World War II, but they definitely didn't mobilize as well, or as extreme as Germany or the Soviet Union, or probably even Britain. The U.S. didn't, but it obviously mobilized a lot more. So it never fully mobilized. The U.S. had made a lot of money selling arms, not necessarily as war profiteering, because they weren't necessarily, I know there's still a residual effects coming on, and there was a lot of post-World War I bashing of war profiteering. And I think I may have mentioned this before. I don't know if you know the Little Orphan Annie and the Annie plays and whatever. Who's the daddy that comes and say, "Daddy Warbucks"? And that's something that I think is lost on 90% of the audience today. But Daddy Warbucks means literally sort of daddy, the guy who's rich because he made money off death, off war. And it's a slam in that period because it's a play from the interwar periods. And there was all this hatred for people who made money off of World War I. Well, if you look at a lot of the, not all, but a lot of the arms manufacturers, they did make money. But they weren't going and saying, oh, you need to buy a rifle? Well, we're going to charge you 3 times the normal price for the rifle because you've got to have it. No, they were giving bulk discounts for it. Recently saw, there's a good channel called Forgotten Weapons on YouTube. Very good if you're into small arms. Highly recommend it, Forgotten Weapons. And they were recently, the guy, I think his name is Ian on there, was going through the history of Winchester lever-action rifles. And he got to sort of the last one. And one of the last one had, I don't know, 400 or 500, is the model 1895, made. And he says it, totally skews out bigger than a lot of the other more popular models. You may go, why do they make more than the more popular? Because they made about 200,000, because the 1895 is the one with the box magazines that could carry a modern military Spitzer pointed bullet in it. And they sold about 200,000 or so to Russia during World War I. Now, I know, I don't know exactly the contract details with Russia, but I know civilian sales of Winchester rifles you'll make more per gun selling a gun to the American people or to other commercial civilian sales around the world to nations, because a lot more nations could have firearms back then, than you will to military contracts. It just, military contracts, one are sort of, so long as you think they're going to be fulfilled, meaning they're going to receive the shipments and pay you for them. Obviously, you're running the risk that they may lose the war before they take delivery, or they may lose the war and not pay you, or something like that. But so long as things go mildly well, you're going to get paid. And so it's a big bonus in that it's an assured a lot of sales. 200,000 sales, because it wasn't just one contract. And they sort of convinced the Russians to buy the Winchester lever actions, because the U.S. Army never wants lever actions. They rejected them from the beginning, mostly I think because they thought they were going to be a waste of ammunition, and then found other excuses. We can go into some of that some other time. 19th century and early 20th century U.S. Army small arms theory and practice and thought. But so the Russians, that very little modifications to the standard ones, meaning like less than a month's time, and you're going to be in full production with the Model 1895 for them. And the Russians said yes. And as it turns out, the 1895 Winchester lever action, because they modified it to take a stripper clip and a few other things for military use, which is a 5-round magazine, is much better than the Mosin Nagant rifle, so much better. And so it uses the same ammo, it takes the same stripper clip, much better rifle. So Winchester made a lot of money selling them to the Soviet Union, to Russia. But they weren't profiteering in the sense of, we're going to charge you more, or we're actually going to charge you less than normal price for the guns that we would sell, but you're going to make it up in bulk. So this slam against war profiteering is going on. So I don't want to just say it's that, because there was a lot of other bonuses to the U.S. because of the war. Britain is only just starting to lose its primacy in shipping stuff around the world, because Britain's losing ships to submarine attacks. Investors, instead of because they're pumping out ships to keep Britain afloat in World War I as well, like they were in World War II. But other investors around the world, instead of investing in British shipping, they're investing in American shipping for a lot of the war neutral. And the dockyards in America, which never really, they did produce a lot of stuff for the war, destroyers and things, but there was still a lot of dockyard production space where, say, there isn't in Colombia or Venezuela to build modern shipping. So if you're somewhere else in the world, including Britain and France, and want to invest in commercial shipping production, you're doing it in America. And a lot of the manufacturing needs in France for all the powers in the war, for a lot of the war, the civil consumer goods, they're all turning that over to war production. The U.S. is fulfilling it to places in Latin America and other places in the world. So the U.S. is hit a boom time. So they've got the money to loan to the Germans, and they also have money, that the American dollar, that France and Britain would like to accept as war reparations. So they loan money to Germany to pay off the war reparations. Now, what happens is the collapse of the German economy. They can't pay off the U.S. debt. So this is going on. So, as you can read in the article here, they recall the ambassador. Really, this is making America upset because they're not getting paid. So we can not pay and get -20, which is going to wreck any of our trading possibilities with, well, not any, but it's going to make trading much harder with the U.S., and we're doing a lot of trading with the U.S., or we'll make it only a little worse and pay $400 money. So fortunately, we've got all that check money, so we can afford this easily, so we're going to make the payments. It just gives you the plan behind it. Okay, the Schellplan. This is part of Germany's war preparations, and it's very, very important. And I'll read just a little bit of it here. There were 113 models of trucks being made in Germany by different companies. They went from that many number of 113 down to 30. They forced the companies to standardize production into 30 different truck types. I'm not saying that this is because some trucks are especially delivery van and back ends or flatbed ends. No, those are all kinds of variations, but as in engine types, drivetrain types, frame types. The thing that makes a truck important and vary to each other. Just 30 types, so that you can still make as many as you want, but keep the different plans simple and organized for this. They went from 52 car models of types, and again, this doesn't have air conditioning or not. I don't think most cars did then, or some sort of minor differences, but basic types, down to 19 automotive types. This is for spares and stuff, and also motorcycles, from 150 types made in Germany down to 30 types of motorcycles made in Germany. Again, I'm sure there's probably still minor variations, but we're talking engines and all the basic sort of types. And so some of them may have all been, a bunch of different types manufactured in one company. They may have also, I don't know the details, put some smaller companies out of business or forced them to be license production of another type or something. They definitely weren't trying to shut down factories. I know that. But this is a standardization. This is a war measure standardization going on to streamline production, because once the war hits, well, motorcycles, as they already are here, are going to be a military weapon, and they just want 30 different models in production. And I think that there's a lot of similarities within those model types. Cars, well, we saw the Volkswagen become the Kubelwagen, and you can see a lot of Mercedes and others, and we've already had that event earlier. A lot of cars are used as staff cars or other things, but they're probably going to be probably not shut down, probably shifted to other more wartime productions. But even if they're shifted to war, the factories are shifted to more wartime productions, at least more of the cars can be continued to be maintained off of stockpiles of basic automotive spare parts as part of the thing for the cars as you shift over. And for trucks, same thing. Probably most all the truck types at one level or another are going to be used in the military service. If they're not very robust trucks left, there's a lot of domestic military services, delivering ammo to stationary anti-aircraft batteries or whatever it might be. They're inside domestic Germany, but for military purposes, to obviously good off-road type trucks for German field army use, but go down to 30 of them. And even if you're a civilian truck that's still in use after the war starts as a civilian type, only need to maintain spares, fewer types. Obviously the old motorcycles, trucks, and whatever are still going to be there and still be a problem, but they're going to reduce it. So we do that, lose a little bit of supplies money, but gain a bunch of automotive industry construction gains. So that's a big thing. Okay, Skoda Works. This is, I don't believe, mine. I don't recognize it. When Germany took over the western half of Czechoslovakia in 1939, Skoda became an arsenal for military. Yeah, I know this isn't mine. For the German military productions. You may think this is weird that I'm not sure on some of these events. It's been a long time since I've made some of them. Producing Panzer 38Ts or 35Ts. Well, yeah, tanks. You had Panzers 38Ts, well, tank destroyers, whatever. But 38Ts were there. They stopped production of 38 or 35Ts almost immediately. Finished off what they had. Well, no, they kept it. I'm trying to remember, because they were just getting the 38T going. They did for a little while, but they stopped. The 35T was stopped, I think, by the time they invaded Poland, but they kept it in production briefly. K1 howitzers, among other equipment. Okay, excellent. So, I guess that's just informative. Return manpower to the pool. Well, good. Okay, we're going to be very patient and wait for that to go to green again. Let's see, what do we have here? Bank for yeah. I think one of those is up because it's such a big negative. Okay, now we're back to positive territory. And we've lost. No, probably should have done the Bank for International Settlement, but we'll get another chance. Okay, military police advance. So that is here? No, that is here. 39. We're not yet in 39. Almost. We're doing the 38. There. Do that. I know we're running a little bit of red deficit on research. I'm hoping to get back to high popularity again. Okay, an order placed. Okay, so if we okay, place an order with you. Okay, so yeah, we'll accept that with Switzerland. I think that will help us out. Now, yes, this is we have the non-aggression pact that we signed with Switzerland. And this is coming off, and so I've far from decided. I mean, I have not decided yet to invade Switzerland, but it's something that's still vaguely in my mind, and completely expires in February 42. So that's definitely we're not. Going to be looking at that. Tell that float planes advanced. Well, great, that's a good one. I think that may have maxed that out. Yes. And we'll just let that. We won't add another log to the fire because we're, like I said, a little bit in the deficit there. And now we can come here and okay, so good. All of our maybe those anti-aircraft guns were somehow messing things up. I don't know. causing it? That could be, I'm not sure. Maybe it's the way I've coded the OOB and gave it cost. Could that be that I've said it costs 1.5 or something, and it's trying to readjust it to whatever regular status? I don't know. I would, if it was an easy fix and I knew what to do, I would fix that little problem. But it's never been one. I've never really understood exactly why that was happening, even if I'm the primary causer of it. And I very well may be the... You're also fuel, yeah. I may very well be the primary causer of the bug, but I don't know an easy fix right offhand for it. And it's something that I can tell players to just don't click there, and they can learn, and that instead of me spending endless hours trying to fix something that I'm not sure that I can. And so that's sort of the little bit of the difference. I don't want to spend endless hours trying to fix something that I might not be able to. No. Okay, well. Okay, we got payment received, which gives us a lot of money and gain a bunch of supplies. But of course, we're putting out 1.5% of ICs until June 38. Okay, well. Now let's do fighter ground control training, get through some of that. Look at some of these events. Okay, and we still have, all the 38s are under research or past that. And we're almost to 39. So anything up here, like basing, we want to do first. And tac pilot. Okay. Well, we're going to let that go. Okay, Ribbentrop meeting with Bonnet. You can tell by the green background there is another George 1941 event. Reich Minister for Foreign Affairs Ribbentrop meets with French Foreign Minister Georges Bonnet in Paris. The Franco-German pact text. One, the French government and the German government fully share the conviction that pacific and neighborly relations between France and Germany constitute one of the essential elements of the consolidation of the situation in Europe and the preservation of the general peace. This is, of course, dealing with the recent tensions over Czechoslovakia. Consequently, both governments will endeavor with all their might to ensure the development of relations between their countries in this direction. Both governments agree that no question of territorial nature remains in suspension between their countries. So Germany fully agrees with this border and would never want any of its former territory back. Hitler is totally in agreement with that, of course. Recognize the permanent frontier between the countries as it is actually drawn. Both governments are resolved without prejudice to their special relations with third powers to remain in contact on all questions of importance in both their countries and to have recourse to the mutual consultations in case of any complications arising from these questions should threaten to lead to international difficulties. This will settle our western borders with France, should we sign. Okay, sign the treaty. we improve relations with France. France will get an event like this. We will reduce our threat on France, and Germany loses. We lose threat on each other. No, if we don't do this, this will raise disunity here. But notice there's no non-aggression pact, even though, you know, because it doesn't say non-aggression. And it says that they will consult if there's other difficulties with third parties, like difficulties France may be guaranteeing Polish territorial integrity, that before we go to war we'll talk to each other. So that's all we're saying. So sort of a BS treaty that no one really meant too much, but made everybody seem happy with each other to the world. And so that reduces our dissent, because we've just assured the German people that everything's peaceful. There's going to be no general war in Europe, not in our lifetimes. The Fuhrer just wants peace. We can go into the joke, a piece of Poland, a piece of Turkey, a piece of Hungary, you know, a piece of this and a piece of that, but the Fuhrer just wants peace. And this episode's gone long enough. I've been pushing them along just to try to get through everything. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. Really do appreciate that. It helps out. And of course, please post questions, comments, suggestions, and ideas, and tell a friend, a person, a non-person, somebody about the channel and how great it is. Love to get more people subscribed. Of course, if you haven't subscribed, please do. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.